$8,952. That is how much money I've spent on my writer education, I suppose, since 2022 in USD, which is a lot because I'm Canadian and the dollar isn't doing so great right now. I'm Nicole Wilbur. Welcome to my channel, and today I just wanted to walk you through all of these things all of the money I guess I've invested in my writer education and becoming a better writer, talking about all of them, telling you exactly how much they were and if they were worth it, and ending up with the very exciting thing I have coming up this summer that is the most expensive yet, but I'm also just so thrilled about it. So let's get right into it. Starting off in 2022, the first big ticket item I spent on writing was $1,500 for a developmental edit of the first 50 pages of my book, Some Kind of Criminal. That sounds like a lot, especially when we compare it to other bits of information, and maybe it was. But the editor was very reputable. She'd been an editor on Mistborn, worked in publishing for a really long time with a bunch of big names. It also included an outline critique, so the 50 pages plus I sent like my full length outline. And technically, I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but I sent like the full manuscript with the 50 pages, and she actually skipped ahead and read a couple scenes and was just like, this is great, and made comments like that on the outline. So that was kind of nice. She also did a market report, basically saying like these are books that are similar and giving some ideas for how to pitch it. And then we had a consultation as well for like an hour. Although, to be honest with you, I don't know how much value I get out of these consultations after edits. I'll talk about more of them later, but like usually the letter like makes sense, and then I'm just like, I don't really know what to talk to you about because I have ideas for how to like thank you for the feedback, but I'm gonna go. I'm never really sure what to say back, but like just thank you. Anyways, that was $1,500 in 2022. I believe at the time I also had a masterclass subscription, but I was doing that. I got it written off through work, so that was very exciting. Moving on to 2023, this is when I decided to really pull apart the Some Kind of Criminal manuscript. So after I did the developmental edit, it wasn't an developmental edit, was it? It was like a critique dev edit. I say dev because there were comments in line for those 50 pages and the outline critique. Then I wrote draft 2 in 2022 in the fall. Then in 2023, I looked at it and kind of was like, I need to rip this up and make it really, really good. Or really, really better anyways. And so I was firmly into ripping it up, killing my darlings, changing the story around. It was also when I found out about RevPit, and so I wanted to apply to RevPit that year. So I paid $550 for a rush job edit and review of my opening pages and query letter. It was something like a 3-day turnaround. So it was extra expensive for the rush job. I now know that you can get these that are very valuable for a lot less money. And it was a very valuable letter, but it did make me cry in the Montreal airport. So there's that. But it was, it was a good letter, and nothing came out of RevPit, but I definitely learned a lot, and my book got to an even better place in that rush for RevPit. Still not ready really at all, but got there. I was also paying $117 for a masterclass subscription because I couldn't continue doing it from work because there was nothing product management on there. I was just, there was like a couple leadership courses, but you can't take a leadership course for like 3 years. Anyways, I love Shonda Rhimes, Aaron Sorkin, Judy Blume, and the Michael Lewis classes on there. Sometimes I just want to go back and rewatch them again because they're so good. Especially like the Aaron Sorkin, Michael Lewis ones. For some reason, they're not the genres that I write in. I don't do script writing or whatever, but just how they think about story, I find very inspiring. Also that year, 2023, I paid $67 for a submission package critique, which was pretty much the same materials as the $550, but it was not a rush edit. And also, it was kind of a check-in that I was in the right direction. I paid $685 for 2 semesters of Write Mentor's 3-month YA mentorship program. And if you're interested in any of these things, you can click on the link in Substack below. This was originally mostly a post on Substack last week. I put a lot of things there first, and then they come over to YouTube. So if you want to see the links, just go head over to my Substack. The articles are all free. But if you do want to become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I post about once a week, sometimes it's every 2, but for anyone who's a paid subscriber, I also offer an up to 10 page critique of any piece of writing, so you can head on over there and sign up if that sounds interesting to you. One off just as a thank you for supporting my writing. So Write Mentor is a really cool mentorship program based out of the UK, and basically you're put in a cohort. I think there's like 4 or 5, and every week, I believe it is, is it every week? Yeah, or every month, something like that. Everybody submits like 3, yes, so you go in rotation within your group of 5, and every week someone will send like their 3,000 or 5,000 word excerpt from their book to the group Slack. And so you get peer feedback 3 times. So I think it works out to 15,000 words over the course of the 3 months. And so you kind of go in a rotation and everybody gives feedback on everybody's work. At the same time, you also get 3 submissions to a professional published author. For the YA, her name is Melinda Salisbury right now. She is great, and she will send you, a page or 2 of thoughts on your words, and it was really, really helpful. I got a lot of beta readers through it, met a lot of great people, and it's great to do these things and be able to kind of tap into that network, to help create that network of peers. Plus, there was also some professional development, some Zoom sessions. There was always an agent Q&A, and I actually did 2 semesters of that because I really liked it. And then I paid $205 for 3 of Stacey Lyra's online courses. And Stacey Lyra is an agent, and she's from the podcast The Shit No One Tells You About Writing, and I love her classes. I believe I took Writing on a Line Level, Writing Emotion, and maybe Writing Relationships, or wrapped into that might be one of the ones from the podcast itself. The podcast had one called like One Night Only, where they were doing critiques of manuscripts. There were a couple that have been collabs, but I know I've taken her Writing Emotion course like 3 times. Okay. In 2024, I spent $2,125 on a developmental edit on the full 85,000 manuscript of Some Kind of Criminal. At this point, I had created a bit. I'd gotten some interest, some requests, but no offers. And so I thought, hey, I think I need to push this to the next level. So I found an editor, again on Reezy, with a decade of experience in traditional publishing. And I did the developmental edit with her. She was great. She gave me lots of good ideas, notes that I still refer to. Same with the first dev edit. I still refer to some of those notes because there was just good writing advice in there. We had our critique. Honestly, my initial thoughts on like seeing the, seeing the feedback was like, this isn't that great. Like there wasn't that much, and it was very small things. But having then gone and tried to implement them, I think she was completely right, and they were small things that made a really, really big difference. This was around the time that I was realizing how important writing on a line level is to the overall story. Like what your character's thoughts are in that one scene are so, so, so important to like the overall arc, and every like little thing in there really matters. How you're describing a building even should reflect the character's arc. So that was a really good realization. I also spent, and this happened I just put it in 2024 because I booked it. I don't know when the money actually came out, but $300 for an outline critique of The Nutcracker Effect, which was the book that I wrote in 2024. It's a multi-POV Christmas contemporary romance. It's very fun. And that was a critique of the outline. It was a 10,000 word outline. It was actually a 20,000 word outline, and then I had to really cut it down. So I got a critique of that. I really like Courtney from the Creative Pen. She was the freelance editor on that. She is great. Really, really loved her comments on that. It was interesting to try to get back into the book. I think if you've been following, I might have mentioned that, the outline critique was super useful. Lots of interesting questions to think about and to prompt going deeper into the story. I've been having trouble actually writing draft 2, and I kind of switched to a new project in the meantime. I think it might be kind of just like the weather, the vibe. I'm not really feeling the Christmassy-ness at the moment, so I'm now drafting something else, but I will go back to it and do the edits and implement it. So I'm happy for that investment there. Also because a lot of these things are they also help by giving you some external motivation and external deadlines for getting stuff done. Because for me, my internal deadlines never work out, but I have to meet the external ones. So even if perfect is the enemy of the good with the external ones, I'll have it done. And that's important. It gets finished, I also spent about $180 for Cece's Writing on a Line Level course, and then her course Starting It Right, which actually ran in 2025. Again, don't know when that money came off my credit card, but Starting It Right was the how to start your story in the best place and in the best way. And note to self, I want to rewatch that before it expires in July. We got 3 months of the recording. I think I've probably watched most of it 2 times now, but I want to watch it a third. It was just so good. And then now in 2025, I just applied actually. So Oxford University has a Department of Continuing Education where they offer courses to adults, and a lot of them are in sort of summer school. Cambridge does this as well. I think probably other universities in North America do it. I was just going to be in the UK, and I am going to be in the UK, so I was looking at Oxford and Cambridge, also because I have a light academia, I suppose, dream. When I was applying for my master's, I actually got into Cambridge as well as into Hopkins, and I ended up going to Johns Hopkins for numerous reasons, and it ended up being the best decision. But I still was I've had the UK university experience, but Oxford and Cambridge just have a little more to the imagination, besides an exchange that I did, So anyways, Oxford actually has a creative writing intensive summer program, and they have an intermediate stream and an advanced stream. And in the intermediate stream, they have a creative nonfiction course and a fiction course that you can take, and it's open to anybody. You have to pay, obviously, but it's open to anyone. In their advanced stream, they have something 7 different seminars that are available, but you have to apply. Those seminars cover things. There's 2 different fiction courses. There's a children and young adult. There's script writing. There's poetry. There's a couple different ones in there. And one thing for me that I have not spent any money on yet is I really like playwriting. When I was in my master's at Hopkins, I was able to do a course, audit a course on playwriting, and that was amazing. And I love the Edinburgh Fringe. I love theater, and I really wanted, but I've been trying to get back into it recently, and I'm just realizing I have no idea what to do. I can write a script, sure, but even the struggle of trying to find how to format a play was so hard. I don't know why. They taught us in school, and I'm I don't know which one I'm supposed to do. I'm very confused. And then, how on earth do you make any moves or know if it's any good? I don't know. So I really was looking for some playwriting instruction. Also, I was kind of interested in doing something in person, and I wanted to have expert feedback on my writing. So I was generally looking into these courses at Oxford and Cambridge. There was one on evolution at Cambridge that was a week long. I just felt like being academic. And I ended up applying to the advanced stream of the Creative Writing Summer Program, or the Creative Writing Summer School by the Department of Continuing Education. And actually on my Substack this week, I'm sharing kind of what that application process was like and little snippets from my work for fun there. And it's, it was an application. I waited a while. It was about a 2.5 week turnaround, I think. They had sort of 3 reviewing periods. So they had a deadline March 1st, an April 1st deadline, and a May 1st deadline. And everyone was kind of given equal consideration within those pools of deadlines. So a really, really cool way to structure it. It's a 3-week program with small 15-ish seminars in person. There's also like morning talks. There's an included opening and closing banquet dinner. There's going to be activities and things to do. So I'm extremely excited, and I did get in. So that is so exciting. So I'm doing a program at Oxford now for creative writing this summer. And that course is $3,250 USD plus flight and accommodation. But for me, because I was already going to be in the UK, that part is not so crazy. I hope it's going to have to pay for that anyways. But that is a lot of money all at once. But I am so excited about it, and I am really, really excited just to like see what it will be like. And I've spent a lot of time like looking at the course information and learning about the lecturers, and I'm gonna have readings, I'm gonna have homework. I'm so excited. So that is kind of a breakdown of how I've spent $1 million on my writing over the years. I have found that these investments have made my writing better. You'll notice there aren't any big like courses in there. There are some small webinar type ones. There's masterclass. Obviously I've purchased a lot of books as well. And there was one ill-advised writer resource pack in 2020 that I still regret, because I've literally never used anything in it. But I think that overall, the approach I've taken has been very useful. It's mostly been stuff that's given me feedback on my writing from people in the industry who are professionals. And it was the kind of thing that brought me in 2022 or 2023 from crying in an airport because a professional gave me critiques on my opening scene, which was crap, to later that year, it was later that year, I had a kind of agent review at or a professional review at a conference. I think it was included, or it was like $30 or something. And she was basically like, yeah, I have no suggestions. It's great. And continue, like, my query and opening pages were on the shit no one tells you about writing. And very similarly, they were like, this is great. We don't really have suggestions. So I do think that it has paid off. I've seen the improvement in my writing through the feedback that I've been getting. And that's just so exciting. So I would love to hear from you what your favorite investments in your writing have been, what you think about when you go to make them, and what you're working on right now, because I feel like I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I'm Nicole.